Yeah, today we're going to do the overhead squat, teach you how to do the overhead squat. My name's Rick, this is Sam, Steve and Tom. We're just going to go through the basics of how to do it safely, effectively. With the overhead squat, it's required for Olympic lifters to do it within their clean and jerk. It's part of that whole movement. But for the average person who trains, it's a good barometer for mobility, to see where they are, and then you can see you progress and produce a better overhead squat and produce better training.
We performed a functional movement screening on Ben and found that he had limited movement in a lot of his joints. As you can see from his ankles here, he lifts up his back of his foot, showing the tightness in his ankle joint. We also found he had quite a bit of trunk lean and that his hips were tight, and this is why he had to do a double dip in his squat. We also found that his shoulder there, as you can see, is much tighter than his left shoulder.
The overhead squat is quite an advanced movement, therefore for a lot of people it's quite difficult to keep the shoulders mobilised throughout the whole movement itself. Therefore we've got to go through a lot of shoulder mobility exercises. A great one that we can go through, Ben's going to demonstrate for us. Just go on the bar, put it onto the back of the shoulders. And as we're going through, just keep the arms on the bar and just try and push the elbows through. And as you can see, Ben's quite tight there, but it's just working that shoulder girdle, try and get it loosened up.
We did a frontal squat with Ben prior to doing the overhead squat due to it being an easier movement, and as you can see his shoulders are quite tight, and it allows him to practice his frontal squat movement if his shoulders are quite limited in mobility. With this, it also allows him to increase his mobility in his overall body.
Before taking part in any physical activity, it's important to do a specific warm-up to the activity you're doing. So for the overhead squat, we recommend doing a 3-minute row for your pulse raiser, get the blood pumping around the body, then moving into dynamic stretches, which include the lower extremities of the back and the glutes and the shoulders.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to picking the bar up and then we're going to perform our overhead squat. So first things first, if we like to pick the bar up then. Okay, so notice he's doing it frontal and then he's going to jerk it up, nice quick, nice and wide, and his feet are nice and shoulder width apart. And we can do a squat from there.
Okay, from the FMS we did with Ben a little earlier, we noticed there was a bit of tightness in the ankles. When you're doing an overhead squat, sometimes what you can do for progression to make it maybe that little bit easier, you can use plates. You can stand on plates with your heels as you're doing the squat. So here we're just going to place the plates down, and then if you like to just take the bar out, bring yourself out, and then yeah, ankles on the plates, feet nice. Shoulder width apart. Relax knees to start off with, and then as we come down, what we want to make sure is we have an alignment with the shoulder, the bar and the shoulder, and the ankle as we come down. So that's all in a straight line as we come down. So if you just do, that's great. And we're working into our own mobility. Like I said earlier, it's a good barometer of what our mobility is like. So. As far as you can come down, that is your mobility, and that's what you need to work at when you train for this.
Okay, so now we're moving on to using the weights for the overhead squat. We're going to use the technique where the arms are locked out, rather than using the technique where the arms are bent. It's more to do with the fact that when we've got the arms locked out, we can have much more stability on the eccentric and the concentric phase of the movement. Using a more bent arm technique, we're firing muscles that aren't used as much and aren't as stable. Therefore, you could lose control of the movement, which is not what we want, especially when we're trying to fire mostly in the glutes and the lower back. The shoulders are more for the stability area of the movement, and that's how we're doing it.
So here we got Ben to perform a couple of more overhead squats. We asked him what weight he usually performs with when he does a behind the head squat, and here you can see that what he usually lifts is a bit of an overestimation on what he can lift in an overhead squat. So basically that's one key issue, is that one thing with the overhead squat is you're going to lift a lot less weight than you usually do when you squat, when you're training, when you're squatting. As you can see, Ben's struggling quite a bit here with the weight itself.
So from what we found from using the heavier weight, we moved on to a lighter weight whereby Ben could try and control his movement a lot more. And as you can see, he seems to be able to control that movement a much better. It's a lot more functional. One of the main coaching points that we gave to Ben was to just go to his level of mobility. He was making a double movement with the heavier weight to try and, I don't know, maybe just to show himself that he could do it, but it was all about just getting to that level of mobility and going from there, trying to keep the movement as functional as possible.
We're now looking at coaching points of the overhead squat. What we're looking for are for the feet to be shoulder width apart and the toes to be slightly outwards, the face to be looking forwards and slightly upwards, and the knees not to collapse in. And if this does happen, it could be an indication of weak hips.
We're looking for the weight to come through the heels on the way down, and we're looking to power through the heels on the way up. We're looking for knees not to go any further than the toes, and we're aiming for a 90-degree angle, but only go as far as your mobility allows.
We're looking to keep the arms just behind the ears, so we've got the weight above the head at all times. So then we also have an alignment with the bar, shoulders and ankle all the way through the movement. We're going to make sure that we inhale on the downward phase and exhale on the upward phase.
We're looking for a stable spine to control the movement throughout.
Okay, so that's how to perform a safe and effective overhead squat. It helps us with mobility, and if we do a functional movement screen, we can identify weaknesses and we can work on them as well.
Key coaching points from an overhead squat is that we're looking for a controlled eccentric and concentric phase of the motion, and we're looking for alignment of the shoulders, hips and ankle joints.